Developments on a story that we've been following. The White House coming out this morning and through Tony Snow saying that the story is being overblown and overhyped. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, has asked for apparently a larger plane than Speaker Hastert had because she lives farther away, clearly, in California, and the size of the plane that Hastert had to stop to be refueled on the way to California. So she wanted a larger plane so she wouldn't have to do that. She also wanted a military escort, which is exactly what Speaker Hastert had after 9/11. The White House saying that she hasn't asked for anything out of the ordinary. Representative Pelosi, though, speaking about this after leaving a session early this morning. Let's listen.
Well, I will tell you this, that whatever the source of this misrepresentation and mischaracterization, I know for certain it is not coming from the President of the United States. If anything, he's encouraged me to have all the security that I need. I really don't like the security. I like my freedom. But there's certain sacrifices you have to make when you're Speaker of the House. And this information, these leaks coming out of the Pentagon to the press serve somebody's purpose. I don't know whose. You probably could guess.
So that's the latest from Nancy Pelosi, saying she doesn't know where all of this is coming from, why it has been made into such a big deal. The White House basically saying the same thing. We'll continue following that story. Another bizarre twist in the Duke lacrosse case. A North Carolina judge is now considering indicting 2 former members of the grand jury who spoke out about the case to the media anonymously. They had their identities concealed. One of the jurors said that he would have made a different decision when it comes to indicting the 3 lacrosse players had he known back then what he knows now. The judge notes that when grand jurors are sworn in, they're given clear instructions regarding secrecy.
It was pretty clear to me that the jurors were in violation of North Carolina law.
Well, so what does it mean for the case? We are joined now by former federal prosecutor and the mayor of Englewood, New Jersey, Michael Wilds. It's good to have you here with us again. So let's talk about this. These jurors have come out. There's clearly information that's now being investigated, information that wasn't given to the grand jury when they made the decision to indict these 3 players. And these 2 grand jurors are now expressing, that they're uncomfortable about what had happened. Was it a law? I mean, is it necessary that they get all this information?
Edie, the fact is they shouldn't have had any more information than what was accorded to them by the prosecutor the day the grand jury was convened. It is a weighted process dating back to the days of the Magna Carta. Anglo jurisprudence keeps a veiled secrecy over this process, and then ultimately charges are leveled if an indictment or a finding of probable cause is made. Simply put, there was limited information. The fact that they are now speaking is unconscionable and wrong. It's a secret proceeding, and they could be punished. But look what's happening after months of judicial proceedings here. We have a prosecutor who may end up being disbarred, is being brought up on ethical charges. We have 2 potential grand jurors that may face charges themselves. I doubt that they're going to end up in jail. And you have other lacrosse players who are now suing teachers because of collateral damage that's happening. In these sensational cases, what happens sadly, and a lot of it has to do with the hype that's developed around it, is it takes on its own life. And the idea is to keep it structurally integral and polite.
Yeah, because all of these lacrosse players, everyone except the one African-American lacrosse player, were all brought in for this police lineup. You know, the kids don't know what's going on, so they all go out, and not every single one, but a lot of them went out and had to go hire their own attorneys.
And
the expense of doing that.
The witness changes their story very often
now,
and is not credible.
You know, part of the concern and the question is if the prosecutor had some of this information before the grand jury came to its decision, if he knew that DNA evidence was found on the woman and none of it matched these 3 men.
He had an obligation to, if he had what's called exculpatory evidence that would exonerate somebody, to produce that information.
Is he required to?
Absolutely. And the question here ultimately is whether or not he may have lied to the grand jury. In other words, it's bad that they're speaking out loud, and it's bad that he did, and he wasn't measured in his composure to the press. And this is why the press is very dangerous for a prosecutor and for anybody talking in these kinds of cases. But the bottom line is whether or not any lines were crossed. And clearly the grand jurors have crossed lines. They could be incarcerated, but I doubt that that's going to happen. Simply, it's wrong, and it's as much a tease for the media to get them. It would be wrong to put them in jail. But justice has to see the light, because right now there is a victim, and there's nobody being punished other than a lot of other people around it.
And we don't know who the victim necessarily is in this case yet.
Well,
whether
some of them deserve the punishment right now.
Michael Wilds, former federal prosecutor and mayor of Englewood, New Jersey, thank you very much for being with us. Well, we want to show you this video just coming into Fox. Icy road. This is Chicago, and that car, they were trying to tow it. The cable snaps. It slides under a semi off